The mist rolled in like a silent predator, swallowing the shores of Loch Ness whole. Amanda shivered as she stepped out of the taxi onto the damp gravel. She glanced around nervously, her eyes searching the murky waters for any sign of movement. "Why did we have to come here?" she muttered, pulling her coat tighter around her. Her husband, David, chuckled. "Come on, Mandy, it's just a bit of fun. A weekend getaway to Scotland, exploring the mysteries of Loch Ness. You used to love this stuff." "Yeah, when I was 12 and believed in fairy tales," Amanda retorted, though a small smile tugged at her lips. Despite her skepticism, there was an undeniable thrill in being so close to one of the world's most famous legends. They made their way to the cozy bed and breakfast they had booked for the weekend, nestled on the edge of the loch. The owner, an elderly woman with a twinkle in her eye, regaled them with stories of sightings and folklore as she showed them to their room. "Mind you don't go wandering too close to the water at night," she warned with a mysterious smile. "You never know what might be lurking in the depths." Amanda rolled her eyes at David, but a chill ran down her spine nonetheless. That night, Amanda tossed and turned in bed, unable to shake the feeling of unease that had settled over her. The wind howled outside, and the waves lapped against the shore with an eerie rhythm. She finally gave up on sleep and padded to the window, drawing back the curtain to peer out into the darkness. Moonlight danced on the surface of the loch, casting strange shadows across the water. And then, she saw it, a ripple, barely visible in the inky blackness. Her heart leaped into her throat as she strained her eyes, trying to make out the shape beneath the surface. A low, guttural growl echoed through the night, sending shivers down her spine. She stumbled back from the window, her pulse racing, and shook David awake. "David, wake up," she hissed urgently, her voice trembling. "There's something out there, in the lake." He blinked blearily at her, then followed her gaze to the window. His eyes widened as he saw the faint disturbance on the water. "Maybe it's just a log or something," he muttered, though his voice lacked conviction. But Amanda knew better. There was something sinister lurking in the depths of Loch Ness, something ancient and hungry. The next morning dawned gray and dreary, the mist still clinging to the shores of the loch like a shroud. Amanda was determined to get to the bottom of the mystery, despite David's protests. "I'm telling you, Mandy, it was probably just a trick of the light," he insisted over breakfast. But Amanda couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that something malevolent lurked just beneath the surface. She convinced David to accompany her on a walk along the shoreline, promising it would be good exercise and fresh air. They trudged along in silence, the only sound the crunch of gravel beneath their feet and the distant cry of a gull. Amanda scanned the water intently, half expecting to see the creature emerge at any moment. Suddenly, David grabbed her arm, his face pale. "Look," he exclaimed, pointing out across the loch. A dark shape broke the surface, a hulking mass of scales and sinew gliding effortlessly through the water. Amanda's breath caught in her throat as she watched in awe and terror. It's real," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rush of blood in her ears. The days blurred together as Amanda and David became obsessed with the creature that lurked in the depths of Loch Ness. They spent hours scouring the shoreline, searching for any sign of its presence. They interviewed locals and pored over ancient manuscripts, piecing together clues from centuries of sightings and folklore. But the creature remained elusive, a ghostly presence haunting the waters of the loch. Amanda's dreams were filled with visions of sharp teeth and unblinking eyes, the sensation of being dragged down into the icy depths. "We have to find it," she insisted, her voice tinged with desperation. "We have to prove that it's real." David nodded, his expression grim. He could see the toll that the obsession was taking on his wife, but he was powerless to stop it. They had come too far to turn back now. And so they set out on a boat, venturing into the heart of Loch Ness in search of the creature that had captured their imaginations. The water was calm, almost eerily so, as if holding its breath in anticipation. And then, suddenly, it emerged from the depths, a massive, serpentine form, its scales gleaming in the sunlight. Amanda's heart raced as she raised her camera, snapping photo after photo in a frenzy of excitement and fear. But as quickly as it had appeared, the creature vanished beneath the waves, leaving them gasping for breath and clinging to each other for support. "We did it," Amanda whispered, tears of joy and relief streaming down her cheeks. "We found the Loch Ness Monster." The photographs spread like wildfire, making headlines around the world. Scientists and skeptics alike scrambled to analyze the evidence, debating fiercely over its authenticity. But for Amanda and David, the truth was undeniable. They had come face to face with the legendary creature of Loch Ness, and nothing could shake their conviction. Their triumph was short-lived, however, as whispers began to circulate among the locals. A curse, they said, that befell all those who dared to uncover the secrets of the loch. Amanda laughed it off at first, dismissing it as superstition. But then strange things began to happen. Their belongings went missing, their sleep plagued by nightmares, their minds tormented by visions of unspeakable horror. And then, one fateful night, as they lay in bed listening to the sound of the wind howling outside, they felt it, a presence in the room, cold and malevolent, its breath hot on their necks. They turned to face it, their hearts pounding with fear, and there, looming over them in the darkness, was the Loch Ness Monster itself. The creature lunged, its jaws snapping shut with a sickening crunch. Amanda screamed as she felt the searing pain of its teeth sinking into her flesh, tearing her apart piece by piece. David fought back with all his strength, but it was futile against the monstrous force that had invaded their home. They were no match for the ancient terror that lurked within the depths of Loch Ness. And as their screams echoed into the night, the mist rolled in like a silent predator, swallowing them whole and erasing all trace of their existence from the world above. For in the end, the true horror of Loch Ness was not the creature itself, but the insatiable darkness that lay hidden beneath its placid surface, waiting to claim its next victims. The news of Amanda and David's disappearance spread quickly, sending shockwaves through the small Scottish town nestled near Loch Ness. Rumors swirled like the mist on the water, whispers of curses and ancient evils that lurked in the depths. Inspector Callum MacLeod was assigned to the case, though he approached it with skepticism. He had seen his fair share of strange happenings in his time, but he didn't believe in monsters or curses. Still, he couldn't ignore the mounting evidence: a torn piece of fabric snagged on a tree branch near the shore, eyewitness reports of strange disturbances on the loch, and the chilling photographs taken by Amanda before her disappearance. As he combed through the evidence, Callum couldn't shake the feeling that there was something lurking beneath the surface, something darker and more sinister than he could imagine. He enlisted the help of local fishermen and divers, scouring the depths of Loch Ness in search of any sign of Amanda and David. But the water yielded no secrets, its depths as impenetrable as the night sky. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, hope began to fade. The townsfolk whispered of curses and lost souls, their faces drawn with fear and resignation. But Callum refused to give up. He knew that there was more to this case than met the eye, that the truth lay hidden in the shadows that danced on the surface of the loch. It was a crisp autumn morning when Callum received the call. A fisherman had dredged up something unusual in his nets, something that sent shivers down his spine. Callum raced to the harbor, his heart pounding with anticipation and dread. The fisherman led him to his boat, where a crowd had gathered around a tarp-covered object on the deck. With trembling hands, Callum pulled back the tarp, his breath catching in his throat. It was a camera, battered and waterlogged, but still intact. And as he flipped through the photos stored on its memory card, he felt a chill run down his spine. There, captured in grainy detail, was the Loch Ness Monster, a massive, serpentine creature emerging from the depths with jaws agape, its eyes gleaming with primal hunger. But what sent a cold shiver down Callum's spine were the final few photos, a pair of terrified faces, frozen in a rictus of horror as the creature descended upon them with deadly intent. Amanda and David. Armed with the newfound evidence, Callum vowed to unravel the mystery of Loch Ness once and for all. He delved deeper into the town's history, scouring ancient manuscripts and folklore for any clue that might shed light on the truth. And then, buried deep within the annals of time, he found it, a legend as old as the loch itself, passed down through generations of Scotsmen and women. It spoke of a creature, older than time itself, that dwelled in the dark depths of Loch Ness, a guardian and a devourer, tasked with protecting the secrets that lay hidden within its waters. But there was a price to be paid for disturbing its slumber, a curse that befell all those who dared to uncover the truth, a curse that claimed their souls and dragged them down into the abyss. Callum knew that he was treading dangerous ground, that the creature's wrath could not be contained by mere mortal means. But he was driven by a sense of duty and determination, a need to bring closure to the families of those who had been lost to the darkness. And so he made his preparations, gathering a team of experts and equipment to descend into the depths of Loch Ness in search of the truth. The water was cold and dark, swallowing Callum and his team whole as they descended into the murky depths of Loch Ness. The pressure built with every passing moment, pressing in on them from all sides like a vice. But they pressed on, their eyes scanning the shadows for any sign of the creature that lurked below. And then, suddenly, it emerged from the darkness, a massive, serpentine form, its scales gleaming in the dim light. Callum's heart raced as he raised his camera, snapping photo after photo in a frenzy of excitement and fear. But even as he captured the creature on film, he knew that this was only the beginning. For lurking in the depths beneath them was something far more ancient and terrifying, a darkness that had haunted the loch for centuries, waiting to claim its next victims. As they descended further into the abyss, they felt the chill of its presence closing in around them, a suffocating weight that threatened to crush them beneath its relentless grip. But Callum refused to give up, his determination driving him forward even as fear gnawed at the edges of his mind. He knew that they were close, that the truth lay just beyond their grasp. And then, suddenly, they found it, a cavern hidden deep within the bowels of the loch, its walls lined with ancient carvings and symbols of a bygone era. As they explored its depths, they stumbled upon a chamber filled with artifacts, treasures from a time long forgotten, their secrets lost to the sands of time. But it was what lay at the center of the chamber that sent a shiver down Callum's spine, a massive stone altar, its surface slick with blood, and a creature lurking in the shadows, its eyes gleaming with primal hunger. Callum's heart pounded in his chest as he stared down the creature that lurked in the darkness, a being of pure malevolence, its form shifting and twisting like a nightmare made flesh. He knew that they were no match for such a creature, that their only hope lay in uncovering the truth behind its existence. And so he pressed on, his mind racing with possibilities as he studied the carvings on the walls. And then, suddenly, it clicked, a revelation so profound that it sent a shiver down his spine. The creature was not a monster, but a guardian, a protector of the secrets that lay hidden within the loch. But it demanded a price for its services, a sacrifice to sate its hunger and keep the darkness at bay. And those who dared to disturb its slumber were doomed to suffer its wrath, their souls claimed as payment for their trespass. Callum knew what he had to do. He had to offer himself as a sacrifice, to appease the creature's hunger and bring an end to the curse that had plagued the town for generations. With a heavy heart, he stepped forward, his hand trembling as he raised it to the altar. And as he felt the cold stone beneath his fingers, he closed his eyes and whispered a prayer to whatever gods might be listening. And then, with a final, defiant cry, he plunged the sacrificial dagger into his heart, offering up his life in exchange for the salvation of his people. As darkness closed in around him, Callum felt a sense of peace wash over him, a feeling of release and redemption as his soul was claimed by the depths of Loch Ness. And as his vision faded to black, he heard a voice echoing in the darkness, a whisper of gratitude and acceptance from the creature that lurked within the depths, its hunger sated at last. And in that moment, Callum knew that he had succeeded, that he had brought an end to the curse of Loch Ness, and that his sacrifice would be remembered for generations to come. For he had faced the darkness head-on and emerged victorious, a hero in the eyes of those he had sworn to protect. And as his spirit soared into the heavens, he felt a sense of peace and fulfillment wash over him, a feeling of purpose and belonging that would stay with him for all eternity. For he was the guardian of Loch Ness, the keeper of its secrets, and the savior of its people. And though his body may lie in the depths, his spirit would forever soar among the stars, a beacon of hope and light in the darkness.